Hi, I'm Brad Simpson with Simpson Limited Collector Firearms, and today I'd like to talk about the Lugers of John Martz. Now, Martz was a World War II vet. He was in the Navy and he worked on airplanes. Then he had a civilian job working on airplanes up until 1977. Before that, he, as a hobby, worked on Lugers, doing some gunsmithing modifications. And then when he retired in 77, he became a full-time Luger Gunsmith. He did custom work. His emphasis really was on function and shooting. So, it was important to him that he fired everything and made sure that it was reliable. So let's take a closer look. The most basic Martz conversions were caliber changes. And in this case, as you can see on the bottom of the barrel, it's marked 357 SIG, a very oddball choice of caliber, and you wouldn't actually know it unless you saw this mark. And then to know that it was Martz, if you open the gun up, there's JVM underneath the side plate, which he did that with all of the custom guns that he made. And then, of course, this is a special magazine for 357 SIG, and it's also marked JVM on the bottom. When you see MSTR, that's the Martz Safe Toggle Release. And one of the problems with the Luger pistol was that once you fired the last shot, the toggle stayed open. And in order to release the toggle, you would have to either pull the mag part of the way out or reload the magazine, and then with two hands you had to release the toggle. But with the Martz Safe Toggle Release, it's a one-hand operation, much like the 1911, which won the contract from the Luger. And pretty much every popular automatic pistol has some kind of a slide or action release that makes closing the action a one-handed operation. And it's amazing that Luger or the following manufacturers never thought of that. It's probably the best improvement to the original design that anybody came up with. Now, another thing that Martz was famous for was making baby Lugers. And as you can see, shorter barrel, shorter frame, made much like the original babies. And also, of course, had to make shorter magazines, which again are marked JVM on the bottom. And of course, this one has the Martz Safe Toggle Release. And as you can see, one of my favorite things about Martz Lugers are the grips. A guy named George Sarkisian made the grips for him out of exhibition grade French walnut. And they're beautifully checkered. It's really highly figured, beautiful wood. And they've got the border like the early guns. And it's really my favorite feature of the Martz guns is how beautiful the wood is. Guns in the white. This seemed to be his favorite finish. And here's another baby that is in the white, again, with the beautiful grips and nice straw. These carbines, you can see how beautiful the figuring is on the stock. And this is a carbine. It's got the dish toggle, so it's a 1902 style. It's actually 9mm, which is nice. The checkering is nicer than the originals, and all of the wood fits better than on the original guns. And you can see the forearm, the whole thing is beautiful. He didn't make a lot of these guns, so if you like Luger carbines, the ones that he made are some of the nicest ones out there in terms of aesthetic. And of course, what he was most famous for was making .45s. Now this one says 45, number 87. I don't think it's possible that he made 87 45s. I think that number was either you could custom order your serial number or it had something to do with the number of caliber conversions he did. Now I've heard that he only made 8 of these, but if he only made 8, I've seen all 8 of them. I think he made more than that, but I don't think he made 87 or more of them. And this was a very difficult gun to make because in order to accommodate the 45, of course he had to make the magazine to start with and then build the gun around the magazine. And he would take 2 original Lugers and cut them and TIG weld them so that they were big enough to accommodate the 45 magazine and of course the barrels. And one thing that's interesting on these guns, I said he outsourced the wood. He also outsourced the barrels. A guy named Edward Corda made the barrels. And if you ordered a Navy, Edward Corda also made the Navy sights. Martz did not make everything himself. And then also the blue, a guy named Charles Danner, who was in Tennessee, if you ordered a Martz gun that was blued, Martz would send it to Danner in Tennessee for bluing. One thing that Lugers are famous for is being finicky about ammo. I know if you've shot a 9mm Luger, a lot of times they stovepipe, the action won't open all the way, etc. And with the 45, that was even more of a problem. And Martz was very concerned with making reliable shooting guns. So he designed this gun to use Winchester ball ammo, full metal jacket, 230 grain. And he was very adamant that you use that. That's what it was designed specifically to function reliably with. A lot of this information comes from an American Handgunner issue from 1994, where Martz's 45 was shown on the cover, and there's a nice article inside with pictures and details. They also talk about cost. For example, in 94, the 45 was started at $4,500, and then if you wanted a Navy sight or, for example, an artillery sight, that was another $500. So these guns, when they were being made, were $5,000 guns 27 years ago. And John Martz was in high enough esteem that his signature gun was featured on the cover of a major magazine. John died in 2013, and up until that time, we really didn't have a feel for his retail market. My father was a good friend of his and saw him regularly at the shows out west, and John basically had a standing order with us that anytime we got one of his guns, he would buy it from us at a fair price. So at the time, he had a long waiting list, and it was easier for him to buy back his own stuff and hopefully fill an order than it was to make a new gun. So we really didn't get to find out what the real market was until after he died, and then people started asking us for his guns. But I can tell you, they've become very popular. Over half of what you see here has already sold, and we haven't even put it on the web yet. So there's a big demand for his guns. They're beautifully made, and a great addition to any Luger collection. If you have any questions or comments, send me an email at brad@simpsonltd.com. Thank you.